Hello and good day to you all, it's Cragum here, and I'm here today with a lovely book review. Yeah, it's Sandy Mitchell's Old Soldiers Never Die. So this is Sandy Mitchell's most famous of characters, Ciaphas Cain, also aka Blackadder of the 40k universe, and also one of my favourite characters in the 40k universe. Now to me, has entertained me on so many different journeys, so many different stories. I was very lucky to pick up this at the time many moons ago, and I finally read it recently, and it is probably one of my favourite ones by far. Short story, I am reading another one at the moment as well, but this one's short story, I thought I'd kind of get in there. So Old Soldiers Never Die, you kind of get the gist already straight away. It's the undead, and Ciaphas obviously is well known for getting himself stuck into sticky situations where normally there's quite a horde of enemies and he's stuck in some form of awkward situation, and something will save the day, or by chance he kind of gets the Ciaphas Cain look. As always, he has his trusty companion Jurgen next to him by his side, and the rest of the Valhallans also supporting him through the story. Now this one, because it's a bit of a short story, I find interesting because for me, Ciaphas Cain, when you normally read a lot of his books, or Sandy Mitchell's books, you will find that with them being a full story and being kind of a goal in mind for where this is going to lead to, normally there's time for things to twist and turn and the story to kind of evolve and break away from where you ever thought it was going to go, without giving too much away for anything and any kind of specific plots. But this doesn't really have that opportunity because it's a smaller story and it's quite more compact. There is still obviously the Cain-based antics and shenanigans which you normally see, and the fight scenes and the way that Sandy Mitchell for me tells stories is brilliant, especially fight scenes, because it's all about Cain, and he's a very self-centered man, so you kind of only really see it from his point of view. So you don't really get to kind of hear the actual battle, but you get this brilliant narrative of how he's dealing with these situations. So no matter what's going on, and other Valhallans are probably fighting for their life, and people are being brave in what they do, it's all about Ciaphas and his companion Jurgen and what's going on with them. And for me, this is one of those things where this book really does do it quite well. It's very graphic, it's very gory, it's very quite macabre in situations, and also quite funny at the same time. It's got that Sandy Mitchell touch of, what's the best way of putting it? Like I say, it's basically, like I say, it's like Blackadder, but for 40k. There's that level of comedy. So kind of anything when you come to a Cain book, I advise is that you realise that this is not going to be a Gaunt's Ghost or a Horus Heresy story. This is going to be a light read with a bit of comedy to it. That's one thing I always enjoy is a book where it's got a bit of comedy to it, because it allows you to, as a reader, kind of break away and have a character in 40k which is grimdark and murder and war, and then you've got this self-centered prick who is very much anointed as a hero when he's actually a massive fraud. Which again is always highlighted in his books with the anecdotes and the notes from the Imperial Inquisitor, who he worked with many years ago. All these stories is what I love about Cain, is the fact is you never really know if this is going to maybe be his last story or if he is going to get caught, because the way that Sandy Mitchell does them is it's no chronological order to any of them, and the books you read can be done in any order really, because they're all taken from his passing, if I'm correct, or kind of his past his career. So it's kind of like taking from an archive of what's happened in his past, which I think is a brilliant way of doing it, because as a first time reader for Sandy Mitchell, I think I picked up the one years ago where it was kind of, I think it was to do with the Tau, and I don't know if it was the first of his books, but it was just one of the first books I read of Sandy Mitchell's, and I loved it. And like I say, now I've got one more book to read, and then that's all of them up to date for him. But yeah, so again, it's going back to the book, I think it's a definite read if you can get it, because it's going to be hard to find because I think it was very limited run, but I have a hardback and I love it and it treats it so nicely. One thing I liked about the hardback, and I just had the page and I've just lost the page, is it has this thing where it has actual pictures in it, which I love the idea of, because a lot of the Black Library novels are just basic in just words on a page, whereas things like this artwork really just does it for me, because that is the embodiment of these scenes, and you make it up in your own head, but it's always nice to have a visual companion to go with. But yeah, so I would say if you can get any copy of it, like maybe a digital copy of Solldiers Never Die, do so, because this novella is absolutely brilliant. And it's, again, I always like this with Cain, is that the story always has like him printed as this hero, and this is kind of like the images you see of him always like as this noble hero, but when you actually realise it, this is all fake, and this is him actually scared shitless and probably trying to fight for his life and try and get out of a sticky situation. But yeah, again, I would say not just a review for this book, but also for anything, like I say, for Ciaphas Cain books, is if you can get your hands on them and you want to get a bit of a more lighter read in 40k, do so, because they are, I think, some of the best out there. I think Sandy Mitchell really does justice to Imperial Guard and the state of the human fear in the 40k universe. But yeah, so that's it really. I would vote this book. I would honestly say, when I first started reading it, I found it a bit of a harder one to read, because it kind of has to throw you straight into the story, whereas a lot of his are slow builders into kind of situational. There's something dropped quite early on. Old Solldiers Never Die kind of a bit different, but I still really loved it. So I'd say definitely, if you can get some of the other Ciaphas Cain books first, if it's first time reading them, I would say do so, because this kind of is more for someone who knows more of Ciaphas Cain and kind of the escapades he's been on, so you can kind of get an idea of it. So I would say, if you're first time reader of Ciaphas Cain, maybe not the best one to start off with, but it is a good book nonetheless. So yeah. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll hopefully be doing more book reviews, more read. Like I say, I've got another Ciaphas Cain book on at the moment. I'm reading currently Know Your Enemies. That's the one I was trying to remember the name, and I'll remember it at the end. So yeah, so the next book currently at the moment I'm reading is Know Your Enemies. So again, I will probably do a review on that at the end. It's hard to do a Ciaphas Cain one really, because you can't really give away much of the story without perhaps ruining anything or anything like that. Like I say, all I will say is that there are zombies, as you can see, and the zombies, as always with Ciaphas Cain, anything like that always comes with something aside from just the plain picture. That's the best way of putting it, I think, for a Ciaphas Cain novel, is Sandy Mitchell has a skill set of laying the foundations for something you don't even realise is there, and then there's a nice twist of any of his stories. So anyway, I'm going to stop throwing this book around, because I'm probably putting a few book fans on edge from me nearly damaging this book, and I'll see you guys in the next video.